Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to be looking at a specific question from your textbook, question 12.11, but we've adapted it somewhat. Next week, Monday, we'll carry on with another PowerPoint. So when all the groups are together, we will carry on with a PowerPoint that deals with the accounts receivable journal and the accounts payable journal, your subsidiary ledgers such as your creditors ledger and your debtors ledger and so on. So we'll do that on Monday, but today we are going to work through the question, but we are already going to address those journals already. And we're not going to address the subsidiary ledgers yet, but we are going to address all of those various ledgers. So we're going to cover every single one. Now, this question, as it was adapted, you will find on Blackboard. I posted it yesterday. It was part of the email announcement that was sent out. So you can find it under content per topic, topic 9, which is special journals and ledgers and reconciliations. There's a subfolder there called special journals and ledgers class number 3, I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you will find it. It's a subfolder under the topic 9 folder, and this question is there. So now let us just go and read through it. I'll have to navigate a little bit between the question and Excel later on, because I want us to work together. I want you to provide me with the answers in the chat, or you can say it in person. It doesn't matter, whichever you choose. But anyway, we are going to work through it step by step together. Let us just go through the question first of all. Ladies and gents, when it comes to any financial accounting, or even a cost accounting, or even an auditing paper, it is usually a good idea, I think I might have mentioned this previously, to go and see what is required of you first, because then you have an idea of what is ahead. So here, under the required, they say open a general ledger account for each of the accounts listed in the trial balance as at the 1st of May 2010. Post the total of each subsidiary journal to the relevant general ledger account. Record the above transactions for May 2020 in the relevant general ledger account. But what we are going to do today is not to do that yet. We are going to do that eventually, but we are first going to record them in the various journals, because this is the gist of our topic. And then prepare a trial balance at the 31st of May 2010. Now let us see what is provided for us here. They say the following information pertains to the accounting records of M&M traders. The entity is registered as a VAT vendor, so that is important information for us, and uses the periodic inventory system. That is also important for us. So in other words, we're not going to keep a cost of sales record for every transaction. On the 1st of May 2010, the following balances appeared in the books of the entity. So these are all our opening balances for the month. So when we are going to drop those general ledger accounts eventually, we will use these as our opening balances. Then, ladies and gents, they say the totals of the subsidiary journals for the month ended 31st of May 2010 are as follows. Subsidiary journals of M&M traders at the 31st of May 2019. Now, before we carry on, that is not quite true. That is not quite the scenario that we are going to be following. What we are going to say is we are only halfway through the month. Yeah. So when we got to this point where we have these balances, or these totals, I should say, they are not balances, these totals in our subsidiary journals or our special journals, that was only halfway through the month, because then we see there are some other transactions that still occurred during the month of May as well, which we are going to record. Right. So we say these are the transactions for the first half of the month. Just to be clear, the totals of the transactions for the first half of the month, and then we've got these additional transactions for the rest of the month, and only then are we at the end on the 31st of May 2010. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is really a critical part of financial accounting, your books of initial entry. So this is really going to be the main part of our discussion today. So if we can do all of these transactions, it will be mission accomplished. But we'll see how far we get. Okay, so let us maybe just start with with recording these totals in our various journals. Now, ladies and gents, I suggest you perhaps open the question on your side, the one that was loaded on Blackboard, because I'm not going to be displaying this the whole time, because I want to display our books of account, which I've created on Excel as a full screen. Let us just pause there. Are you all happy? You understand how this question works? All happy? I hope so. It seems so. Right. So now, obviously, I will have to refer to it often, but hopefully you have it now open on your side as well. Okay, so let us now just go to my Excel spreadsheet. You can just bear for me a little while. We're just waiting for it to appear on your side. Okay, so there we are, and like I say, I'm displaying it full screen. Hopefully, it's large enough for everyone to see. Now let us go and do those summary of the totals first, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can see if I just return to my Excel, I've created here a tab for the cash receipts journal. I've created a tab for the cash payments journal. I've created a tab for the sales journal. We'll also see that they have got alternative names. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I've also opened a tab for the sales returns journal, for a purchases journal, and for a purchases returns journal. So we've got 6 different journals here, just as is required in the question. Right. So let us now just say this was on the 15th. I know this is now a little bit of a thumbsuck. We'll just say this is our balance or totals. Let's call it opening totals. Our opening totals. Right, so let us now go and have a look, ladies and gentlemen. This is the cash receipts journal. So what is our opening total for bank? Our opening total for bank is 196. I'll have to go back to the question 196,950. 196,950. Right. I'll have to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, let me just format this that it doesn't give us the cents. Okay, then that doesn't need to be so wide anymore. Okay, so anyway, so that is our opening total for bank. And then we've got the opening total for sales, ladies and gents. So let us go and see what that was. 143,000. opening total for VAT output. Let me just go and see again. VAT output 21450. And we've got an opening balance or opening total for accounts receivable. Let us do that. 32500. 32500. Right, so now we've got our opening totals for our cash receipts journal for the month of May 2010. So now we can just go and carry on and do some transactions, but let's do all our opening totals first. So let's go to the cash payments journal, ladies and gentlemen. Opening totals. Let's see what that is. For the cash payments journal, bank 70030. Now we must format that again. Right, then we have our opening total for inventory. Let's have a look. Well, in this case, we're using the periodic inventory system, so I should actually change that. 28200. Then we've got an opening total for VAT input, 4230. And we've got an opening total for accounts payable, 37600. Ladies and gents, I just want to confirm with you. You do have that question open on your computer so that you can see where those figures come from. Yes or no? You can just type in the chat for me. Yes, we have, or no, we haven't. Because these figures do not fall from the sky. They come from that question. So those are the totals. Yes, thank you, Logan. So you have it open. Okay. If anybody doesn't, then just open it on your side. I can't switch between the two apps. I can share my whole screen, but then everything becomes very small. So I'd rather just share one application at a time, and I don't want to jump between the two. Okay. Good. So now let's go to our next one, which is the sales journal, ladies and gents. Let's see what our totals there are. So in the sales journal, we've got accounts receivable 18,400. It's the opening totals. Okay, I suspect I will have to make this a lot bigger. So let's format a larger section. Right, so for accounts receivable or debtors, it's 18,400. For VAT output, it's 2,400. For sales, it is 16,000. Okay, because we are using the periodic inventory system and not the perpetual inventory system, we are not going to be using this column. So this column we will only add to our sales journal if we are using the perpetual inventory system. So this one will remain blank in this particular example. Now let's go to the sales returns journal, ladies and gents. It can also be called an accounts receivable allowances journal. You'll see for each of these journals, we provide both popular names, the most common names that are used, either your sales returns journal or your accounts receivable allowances journal. Same thing. Okay, let's see whether there were any balances there. Yes, there were. For accounts receivable 345, opening totals. Just format that again. Don't want it to show the cents. Let's see what else is there. Sales returns 300. And as we can see, we can either debit the sales when there's a return, or we can debit debtors allowances. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Then when it comes to the VAT output, 45 Rand. Okay, so we've got the opening totals again there. Let me just say insert. Because I created all these little entries yesterday evening, so I haven't quite properly formatted everything. I obviously had another subject this morning, so I couldn't work on it this morning. So bear with me. I have to sort of format a little bit more as we carry on. Once again, because we are using the periodic inventory system and not the perpetual inventory system, we are not going to use this column. This column will be added if we are using the perpetual inventory system. Okay, now let us see when it comes to our purchases journal. Now it is exactly behind. Let me just move that out of the way. Purchases journal. Opening balances. As you can see, I didn't quite finish formatting it because it became very late. Let me now do that before I forget. And we might as well add a few more a few more rows there. Right, so for our accounts payable journal, ladies and gents, let us see. Accounts payable journal, which is also known as our purchases journal. As you can see, we show the alternative names here as well. The accounts payable total was 28750. I'll have to make that a little bit broader. And let's see what else is there. Purchases journal, purchases 25,000. Now, once again, if we had been using the perpetual inventory system, obviously we would have debited our inventory account, right? But in this case, we are using the periodic inventory system, so that will be our purchases account. Okay, so we've got our creditors, we've got the purchases. Let's see what else is there. The VAT input 3750. Right, and then we've got one more journal, and that is our accounts payable allowances journal, also known as our purchases returns journal. Let us format that right at the start. Let us give us a few extra lines, or rows, I should say. Right, our opening totals. Let's see what we've got there. I'll have to make that a little bit broader as well. For creditors or accounts payable was 575. Now again, because we are using not the perpetual inventory system, we are using the periodic inventory system. That won't be the inventory general ledger account, that will be the purchases account. So you know that story very well. So let us see what our balances, our totals there. For the VAT input, it is 75. And for purchases, purchase returns 500. Okay, so we've got all our various journal. We've got the totals, the opening totals, let's say for the transactions for the first half of the month. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to go and do the other transactions for the rest of the month, right? So I'm going to ask you a few questions here. Let me just stop sharing that so that I can display the question now. I'm not going to jump between it every time, but let us just do it for now. So let us look at the first two transactions. Just waiting for it to display. Okay, for the first two transactions, maybe I can just make that a little bit larger. That's better. Okay, so let's start with that one. The owner deposited 15,000 rands in the entities or into the entity's bank account. Now I want you to participate, ladies and gentlemen. I want us to do this together. I want all the solutions and all the answers coming from your side. By the way, let us just read that. They say additional transactions for May 2020, and this is important for us to note, is that all amounts include VAT at the rate of 15%, except where it is stated otherwise. So if it isn't stated otherwise, we have to accept that each amount mentioned here includes value added tax. Okay, so now, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that they say the owner deposited 15,000 rands into the entity's bank account, will that affect value added tax whatsoever? Let us start with that little question. Just a yes or no. Will that affect value added tax? Is there tax on it, on an owner putting money into the business? Need you to type for me a yes or a no. Be brave. Is it a supply? Maybe we should go to the definition of value added tax. Does that represent the supply of goods or services? No, thank you, Logan. There we go. It does not represent the supply of goods or services, so therefore it does not carry any value added tax. So there can't be VAT on that. That can only be on the supply of goods or services. And then, as we know, it can be a taxable supply or it can be an exempt supply. And if it's a taxable supply, it can be zero rated or it can be standard rated, right? But this is not a supply whatsoever. So this does not involve that. Now, my next question, ladies and gentlemen, in which journal, you can use any of the names that we've been calling it over the last few weeks, in which journal are we going to record that? You can type the whole name, or you can just use abbreviations. As you know, there are very popular abbreviations for all these books of initial entries. So in which journal the business is receiving money? Okay, let me ask you. Cash receipts journal. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Mishlontlu. That's it, right? The cash receipts journal. I was just about to say the way you can also think about it if you want to take a broader perspective on this is it involves cash. So clearly it involves your bank account. They say that you have deposited or the owner has deposited money into the bank account. So it's going to affect your bank account in your general ledger. And as we said the other day, the cash receipts journal basically represents your debit side of your bank account, whereas the cash payments journal represents the credit side of your bank account in your general ledger. Okay, so that is going to be recorded in the cash receipts journal as you've mentioned there. Before I stop displaying this, ladies and gentlemen, I know we still have to go through the PowerPoint slides and the discussion of the various credit journals, which we will do next Monday. But we need to have a little bit of a working knowledge of it now already. So if they are saying we purchased merchandise on credit from Chico wholesalers for 2,508 rands. Now, first thing we need to do here is we've got to determine, does it involve value added tax? Does that represent the supply of goods or services? Yes or no? Chico wholesalers, we've bought some merchandise from them. Does that represent a supply? Yes, yes. Thank you, Mkhlontlo. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Sianda. And thank you, Sisanda. Exactly. So that is a supply, and it will be a taxable supply unless they tell us it is not taxable. But normally, between a wholesaler and a retailer, all supplies will be taxable. And if it's not taxable, they will specifically tell us that. So we've got to assume, or we've got to accept, I should say, that 2,508 rands includes value added tax at 15%. Now, the next question, ladies and gents, in which journal are we going to record that? We haven't paid them yet. We haven't received money. So which journal are we going to use? If you look at the question, maybe I can just scroll up. Which of these journals do you think will be the appropriate one? We can use these names, or we can use the names that I've used in Excel. They all mean the same thing. So which of these four kinds of journals will we use to record that transaction? I almost now gave it away. Those are the 6 journals that we have. 2 of them do not apply because there's no money flowing, so it cannot be one of those 2. So it's got to be one of the others. What do you say? What have we done? Remember, we are drawing up our books, the books of M&M traders, so we've got to look at it from our perspective. Thank you, Logan. That's exactly it. The accounts payable journal, or as Senziwe says, the other name for that same journal is the purchases journal, right? So again, we are providing you with both names that you will find in textbooks and that you'll find in practice. In practice, we normally call it the shorter of the two. So we will call it a purchases journal, but accounts payable journal is probably the more appropriate term. It's just because it's a little bit longer that we tend in practice to use the shorter version. Okay, so the purchases journal, ladies and gents, quite correct. So now like you hopefully still have this question open on your side. So I'm going to stop sharing this and we are going to go back to our Excel spreadsheet. So let's just find it. Okay, so let's start with the first one, the one where the, let me just see if it's displaying already. Not yet, still waiting. There we go. Okay. So our first transaction was the one where the owner deposited 15,000 rands into the entity's bank account, right? So now let's go and record that. You've already said we'll have to go to the cash receipts journal. So let's go to the cash receipts journal. There we are. Now they don't provide us with dates, so we'll just use our imagination. So let's say this was on the 16th of the month. And this will be owner's capital. Owner's capital, the amount that we will receive in our bank account. By the way, the folio will just be the account number in our books for owner's capital. But we'll just leave that out for our purposes at the moment. When you're in practice, you will have those numbers. And also next year in accounting information systems 1B and 1C, when you are going to be doing, amongst others, Sage Cloud Accounting, you will see where those account numbers come from. Anything in sales, ladies and gentlemen? No, it doesn't represent sales. We've already discussed this. It does not involve any VAT output. It does not involve value-added tax whatsoever. It does not affect our accounts receivable or debtors account. So all that's left is the sundry accounts, right? So that will have to go under the column for sundry accounts. And then the details. Here we can probably again say owner's capital, because that is probably the name of the account that we have created. Owner's capital. Oof. Owner's capital. Right. Then the next transaction, you said we must go to the purchases journal or accounts payable journal. So let's do that. Let's go to the purchases journal. Oh, no, I've got to move this collaborate window a little bit on my side. Don't worry, it won't affect you. It's just in my way. So let me now see. There we are. So there we are in our accounts payable journal or purchases journal, whichever you want to call it. Let's again use an imaginary date. Let's say it's the 17th. Well, that will depend on the invoice number or the goods received number, GRN, goods received note number. I'm not going to type in the numbers there. Let's just do it once to illustrate it. Let's say this is number 1234, right? So just to give it a document number. Details, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what do we need to do here? We need to specify the actual supplier. Why is that important, ladies and gentlemen? We touched on this on Monday, but now I want us to have a little more, a little deeper discussion regarding this. We must now bear in mind, and we must also almost look into the future, into what we are going to be doing next week. We said on Monday that when it comes to our creditors account, our creditors or our accounts payable account in the general ledger, we are only going to book over, or we're only going to post the totals, right? The same with the purchases. At the end of the month, we're only going to post the total. The same with our VAT input. At the end of the month, we're only going to post our total to the general ledger account. But once we are starting to use our subsidiary ledgers, it means for each individual supplier, in the case of purchases, they will have a separate little account in the creditors ledger, because we need to keep track of what we owe each individual supplier. The other side of the coin also holds true, ladies and gentlemen. When we are doing sales, we're not only going to have a debtors control account or an accounts receivable control account in the general ledger, we're going to have a subsidiary ledger called our debtors ledger or our accounts receivable ledger. And in that ledger, each and every individual customer will have an account. We must keep track, we must keep record of what each person or each institution that is a customer of ours is owing us for a transaction and for all the transactions in total, right? So there will be an individual account. So there, what are we going to type in there, or what are we going to write in there? The name of the supplier. And we saw that the supplier is Chico Wholesalers. Chico Wholesalers. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hopefully you've still got the question open on your side. So we have made a purchase. So we owe that Chico wholesalers, that supply, we owe them money for this transaction. Now you've got to type for me, please. What do we owe them for that transaction? The way I asked that, you could have typed money. That's not what I mean. How much money? How much do we owe them for that transaction? I'm so sorry, ladies and gents. I now realize when I clicked on something else, I accidentally switched off my microphone. I'm so sorry. I've been talking such a lot and nobody could hear me. I'm so sorry. What I was saying is you must please confirm for me whether I am indeed correct. Is it 327? We are going to ignore the cents. Thank you, Logan. You also get 327. Okay, so the 327 is then obviously our VAT input. 327, and then we can also calculate that, but it doesn't matter. We can just take the difference. So that will be 2508 minus 327. But our purchases will be 2,181. So that is the amount that's eventually going to end up under our purchases account. And that 327 will be included in our VAT input account. Okay, ladies and gents, now hopefully you have the question open in front of you. So I'm not going to display it again. So let us now look at the next one, number 2. So number 2, what are they saying? They say we issued invoices to the following people for goods sold to them. So we issued invoices to the following people for goods sold to them. So clearly this is now goods that we have sold to our customers. So ladies and gentlemen, we all know now, I'm not going to ask that again. We know that includes VAT. It will probably be at a standard rate unless they tell us anything else. So what I want us or what I would like you to type for me in the chat now, in which journal are we going to record those two transactions? Now, I don't want to go and display the question again, but you can see there are 6 possibilities. On the first page of that question, there are 6 journals. Which one of those 6 are we going to record that in? Who wants to take a guess at it? You can see at the bottom here, there they are also named. The sales journal. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Connie. Yes, the sales journal. So now we'll have to go to the sales journal, ladies and gents. So let us find it. There's our sales journal. So now we can go and record it. Let's just imagine this happened on the 17th or whatever. Now, again, like we've mentioned earlier, because we are going to have a subsidiary ledger with all our individual debtors, all our individual customers that buy on credit from us, it means we will have to go and update that subsidiary ledger, excuse me, with each and every entry. Our general ledger accounts, we are only going to update with the totals. But for the individual transactions, we'll have to go and update our debtors ledger or our accounts receivable ledger for each and every transaction, because each and every transaction relates to a different customer. So let us do the first one. Let me go and see what that customer's name is. R Rhodes. R Rhodes. So that is the data that we'll have to go and capture. Let me just do something here, ladies and gents. I didn't do that earlier. Okay, let me just move this down so that we've got a space there. Okay. So it's R Roads. So with how much are we going to charge R Roads in total? What is R Roads going to owe us for this transaction? If you can type for us, please. What will that customer R Roads owe us? What must they eventually, when they pay on their account? What? 855. Thank you, Logan. Eight. Thank you, Miss Nziwe Lembede. Thank you all. Right, so they will owe us the full 855. So let us go and type that in. We will debit our debtors or our accounts receivable with 855. Now, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't matter which one we calculate first. We can calculate the sales. In other words, the value of the sales. Remember, this we call the consideration. That is what they must pay us. So that is the consideration. But this is going to be the value of the sale, and that's going to be the value of the output. So let us maybe calculate the sales this time. Doesn't matter which one we do first. So if we calculate the sales, that is going to be, what do we want? What do we want? We want a factor of 100. What do we have? We've got a factor of 150. And the amount involved is 855. Can you just confirm whether you also get 743, ladies and gentlemen, that are not leading you down the wrong road here? Yes, thank you, Connie. Right, so you also get the same amount. Thank you. I'm very thankful for that, actually. Okay, so 743, that is our sales. Now we can go and calculate the VAT output, as you know, or we can simply calculate the difference between the two. So that will be 855 minus 743. Which means that our VAT output is 112 rands. Let's just see if that adds up. 2 plus 3 is 5, 1 plus 4 is 5, and 1 plus 7 is 8, right? So we're all happy. We've gone through our little controls. It all works out. But there was another sale, ladies and gentlemen. Let us go and see what that sale was. That was to B Flour. B Flour, 570. B Flour, 570. As you know, that is the consideration. So that is the full amount that customer must eventually pay us when they pay us. Right. Now, in this case, doesn't matter which one we calculate first. Let's do it the same way around. So what do we want? We want a factor of 100. What do we have? We have a factor of 115. What is the amount? 570. So that gives us 496. Let's call it 496. 496. And if you do not agree with the amounts, you must either shout, ladies and gentlemen, or let me know in the chat if I'm got the wrong figure. Maybe I should just check again. Do you also get that amount? 496 or 495,65, so it's more than 50 cents. You also get that? Thank you, Connie. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are in agreement. So now we can just go and calculate our VAT output. So that will be 570 minus 496. 74. Thank you, Connie. Thank you for helping me out there. 74 rands exactly. So there we go. 74 rands. So those two sales transactions have now been recorded. As we said earlier, because we are not using the perpetual inventory system, we are not going to have this column in our sales journal. But obviously, if we are using the perpetual inventory system, then this column must be added to our sales journal or our accounts receivable journal, if you wish. Now let's go to the next transactions, ladies and gentlemen. They say we drew cash from the bank to pay wages, 4,500 rands. Drew cash from the bank to pay wages. Now, there are two questions that spring to mind immediately. Two questions which spring to mind immediately. The first question is, which journal will that be recorded in? Cash Payments Journal. Thank you, Connie. You are super alert, right? The cash payments journal, because we have to credit our bank account, and we know the cash payments journal represents our credit side of the bank account. The second question that springs to mind immediately, ladies and gentlemen, does that involve value added tax? Is there value added tax on wages? What would you say? Yes or no? We haven't probably discussed this, but I think it should be. I think it should be common knowledge, actually. To a certain degree, when somebody provides labor for you, it is a service rendered. But thank you, Senziwe. Senziwe is spot on, right? So no, there is no value added tax. You must remember this is not a separate vendor. This is not a separate vendor. These are your employees. So you are not going to raise any value added tax on the wages that you pay out, right? And you can obviously also not claim input tax on it because there is no tax on it. There is no value added tax on it whatsoever. Okay, so we now have identified the journal. Let me just go back and see what the amount was. 4,500. 4,500. So we go to our cash payments journal, right? Let's say this was on the, let's make it the 19th, just to have a date. Uh, this will be for our wages. In the old days, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the old days, when we were still using checks, you would have had a check number there now, right? But now this will normally be a requisition, a cash requisition that will also be pre-numbered. And we said that is an amount of 4,500. Let me just go double check whether I remember that correctly. Yes, 4,500. Now let's see. Excuse me. Does that affect purchases? No, it doesn't affect purchases. Does it have any value added effect? Value added tax effect? No, it doesn't. We've just discussed that. Does it involve our accounts payable, our creditors? No, it doesn't. So that only leaves one possibility, and that is our sundry accounts. Excuse me. Right, so these columns are the ones that we use on a very regular basis, almost on a minute by minute or second by second basis. We're going to do purchases continuously, but our wages we are probably only going to be doing maybe 4 times a month. In some months maybe 5 times, but once a week. So that will be in a sundry account. So that will be 4,500. And the account name will be wages expense. Right, so far so good. We've recorded quite a number of transactions already. Let us go to the next one. Number 4, they say received an EFT payment, in an electronic funds transfer payment from an account receivable. T3 is the person's name, for 753 rands. So the first decision that we must now take in this transaction is, where are we going to record it? So we received an EFT payment from an account receivable, from one of our debtors, in other words. So, ladies and gentlemen, which ledger, not ledger, sorry, I was pulling something out of my view here. Which journal? Which journal are we going to record that in? Cash receipt journal. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Sisanda. Yes, we receive money from the debtors, so we are going to debit our bank account, and we know the cash receipts journal represents the debit side of our uh, general ledger account, which we call bank. So we'll have to go to our cash receipts journal. Let's go there, cash receipts journal. Let's just say this happened on the 20th or whatever. Right, ladies and gentlemen, now remember when that debtor makes a payment, even though we are going to update our general ledger accounts only with the totals in that specific customer's account, little account in the subsidiary ledger, which we call the debtors ledger or the accounts receivable ledger, we must go and update that person's account with the fact that that person has now paid us money, right? So we need to record that person's name. So let us just go see. It was a funny name there, T3, right? So T3 is the person and it's 753. And the amount that they paid us was 753. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we've got to be very alert and very awake here. We've received 753 from T3, right? Does that affect sales? Yes or no? Are we making a sale at this point in time, at this minute in the journey of life? No, thank you, Connie. We've already recorded the sale. Thank you, Mshlonto. Thank you, Senziwe. Exactly. We've already recorded that credit sale earlier in our sales journal or our accounts receivable journal. So that sale has already been recorded. If we should now include it in the sales column, it means we are recording that sale a second time. And we didn't make two sales, we made one sale, right? So we cannot use it, we cannot include it under our sales column. Can we include it under our VAT output? Yes or no? Should we now account for VAT for this transaction? When they pay on their account. Again, thank you, Senziwe. Thank you, Sisanda. Thank you, Connie. No, the answer is no. You are all correct. When we recorded this originally in the sales journal, there we would have raised the output VAT or the VAT output. So we can't do it now again because that means we would rob ourselves really because we are going to pay over double the amount of value added tax that we should. So it cannot affect our VAT output. So, ladies and gentlemen, does it affect our accounts receivable account? Yes or no? Yes, thank you, Connie. Yes, it does. Thank you, Sisanda. You spot on. That is the whole reason why we received that electronic funds transfer is because that debtor has paid on their account. So we need to go and credit our accounts receivable or debtors control account with a total at the end of the month, but also that individual customer or debtors account in our debtors ledger because there that person will have their own little account. So let us complete that. We've said there is no value added tax there. Doesn't involve any sundry accounts. It does involve our accounts receivable. Right, so there we go. Have I got my autosave on? Yes. Let us go to the next transaction. Ladies and gents, if there's anything that you are not clear on, you are welcome to stop me and you're welcome to type it. You're welcome to ask it in person as always. You know the story, right? So let us go to the next transaction. Where was that? That was the EFT. So now we're at number 5. They say paid the account of Fred Traders, so that is obviously a supplier of us, paid the account of Fred Traders of 1,900 rands by EFT. Okay, so now our first decision is which of those journals are we going to record it in? Which of those journals are we going to record it? Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Sisanda. Yes, you are spot on, the cash payments journal, right? We are going to have to credit our bank account, and we know that the cash payments journal represents the credit side of our bank account. So let us go and do that. Let me just check what the amount is. 1,900, and it's Fred Traders. Fred Traders. And the amount that we are paying is 1,900. Let's say that was on the 20th, just to give it a date. Okay, so now let's go through that similar kind of question, ladies and gentlemen. So we have paid a supplier 1,900 rand. That's going to be included in our total when we update our bank account in the general ledger. But the individual transaction, we must go and also credit that person's individual account in the creditors ledger, or accounts payable ledger, if you wish. So let us go through the same argument, so that we know that we understand it totally and completely. Do we record that under purchases now? Thank you, Sinziwe. No. Thank you, Alona. No. Right, so we've already recorded the purchase in our purchases journal a while ago, right? So this is not a new purchase. We are paying on that account that we already owe them money on for that previous purchase. So it cannot affect our purchases. Similarly, we don't need to go and make a song and dance about it. Similarly, the VAT output, it is not going to affect the VAT output, because the VAT output would have been raised. Sorry, the VAT input, I should say. This is a purchase. This is the cash payments journal. The VAT input, it cannot affect the VAT input, because we've already recorded the VAT input in the purchases journal or accounts payable journal on the date a few weeks or a month or so ago when we actually made the purchase. So it cannot be recorded there again. So the only one that's left, or the only two that are left, are accounts payable and any other account, the sundry accounts. But we know that this is a supplier of ours, and we have actually paid money on the account, on the amount that we owe them. In fact, I think they actually mention we are paying the full amount that we owe them. Right, so that is our cash payments journal. We've recorded the payment to one of our creditors. Let's go to the next transaction. Now they are saying there, number 6, ladies and gents, number 6, issued a credit note to GG dealers for an overcharge on an invoice made out to him for 228 rands. Right. Now that's quite a mouthful, so we'll have to think this through. We're going to do it together. We're going to discuss it. Issued a credit note to GG dealers for an overcharge on an invoice made out to him. So if we made out an invoice to him, was that for a sale or was that for a purchase? You can type for me either sale or purchase. We made out an invoice for an amount where we overcharged. Thank you, Connie. Let's just go and read it again. Issued a credit note. In other words, we are providing a credit here for an overcharge. We charge someone too much on an invoice made out to him. So if we are making out an invoice, who are we making invoices out to? We are making invoices out to our customers. Right. Now this we have to get our heads around, ladies and gentlemen. We remember right at the beginning of the year we looked at various kinds of source documents. So if we make out an invoice, we make it out to the customer. If a supplier supplies us with goods or services for that matter, if a supplier supplies us, they make out an invoice to us. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, to cut to get to the crux of the matter, if we issue an invoice, it means we have either made a sale or we have provided a service. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, now once we have determined that, let us read it just again. Issued a credit note to GG dealers for an overcharge on an invoice made out to him 228. So, the first thing we now need to go and determine which of those various journals would be the appropriate one to go and record this in. Remember, we are basically lowering the value of a sale. We have overcharged that customer. We have overcharged the customer. The sales returns journal. Thank you, Connie. That is exactly it. Right. Thank you for that answer. You are spot on. We also saw that the sales returns journal also has a different name, which we'll display in a few seconds again. So that will be that specific journal, the sales return journal, will be used for all credit notes. So every time that we reduce a previous charge that we have made to a customer, we will go and record it in this sales returns journal. So let us go there, ladies and gentlemen. There's our sales journal. There's our sales returns journal. Let's say this was on the 21st. Now, let me just go back to the question. Who was the person? GG Dealer. So we issued a credit note to GG Dealer. So let us just type that in. GG Dealers. I have to make that a lot longer. GG Dealers. Let's just say there that we will have pre-numbered credit notes. So let's say this one is credit note number 101. Just to give a document number. Like we said, we're not going to show it in every case, but once in a while, let's put in the document number again so that we know how to do it and when to do it and so on. Right. So GG Dealers. I don't want that. I want it left on the left hand side, not centered. Okay. GG Dealers. So now let's go and have a look. What was the amount involved? So it's GG Dealers. We overcharged them on an invoice made out to him by 228 rands. Right. By 228 rands. So we've got to give that person credit of 228 rands. Right. To give them credit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we originally made that sale, this is what we're now going to think about. When we originally made that sale, did we raise value added tax on it or not? If you can just type for us yes or no. When we made the sale, we are a registered vendor. When we made the sale, did we raise value added tax on it? Yes. Thank you, Sensiwe. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Sisanda. Yes, thank you, Olona. Yes, we have. So that means we've now got to go and cancel that value added tax, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got to go and decrease our output VAT by that what we overcharge them, right? By the VAT on what we overcharge them. So let's go and do that. Let's just calculate the VAT on this occasion. So that will be equals. What do we want? We want 15, a factor of 15. What do we have? We have a factor of 115, and the amount involved is 228 rands. Right. Was that 228? 228. 15 over 115 gives us, let's call it 30 rands. Right. Let's round it off to the nearest full figure. So let's call that 30 rands. So the VAT output is 30 rands. Now remember, in this case, ladies and gentlemen, we are debiting the VAT output, right? So we are decreasing the VAT output by 50 rands. When we did the original sale, let us maybe just go to our sales journal. When we did the original sale, I know it's not recorded here, you see that the VAT output for all the sales would have been credited, right? We would have credited VAT output, but now it is being reversed. That VAT output that was on the amount that was overcharged is being reversed. So now in this book, in this journal, we are debiting the value added tax output, right? So that means that 30 rands here, once we post over the totals, is going to reduce the output VAT by 30 rand. So we're going to pay, because we've made a lesser sale than we thought, we also need to pay over less value added tax over. And what is the amount of the sale that we are cancelling, or that was overcharged? Let's just calculate that. That's 228 minus 30 rands. 198. Thank you, Connie. Helping me out there. 198. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we have reduced it. We've issued that credit note. We've reduced that accidental overcharge, and we are decreasing because remember, we are crediting the debtors account, right? So we are decreasing the amount that they owe us. We are decreasing our sale. Let's put the figures to it. We are decreasing the amount that GG dealers owe us by 228 rands. We are decreasing our sales by 198 rands, and we are decreasing the VAT output by 30 rands. Right, so now we haven't overcharged them again. They are now happy and we are happy. They are going to continue buying from us. We have apologized for accidentally overcharged them, the whole story. Okay. So far, so good, ladies and gentlemen. Then we've got number 7. Number 7, they say cash sales of merchandise. Cash sales of merchandise of 3,876 rands. So cash sales of merchandise, ladies and gentlemen, our first decision here is in which journal are we going to record that in? Now we've got to be very careful, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Senziwe. This is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. Let us just read it again. They say cash sales of merchandise. So that will be basically where you have now gone to your cash register. You've taken out the cash that was taken for the day. You prepare a deposit slip so that the next morning you can go and deposit it into your bank account, ladies and gentlemen, or even still on the same day, possibly. There we go, Senziwe. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is not a credit sale. Remember, our sales journal is for our credit sales only because there we are debiting our customer. We are debiting the customer with what they owe us. In this case, we do not have one customer that owes us. It might be a 1,000 customers that we had during the course of the day, but they all swiped their bank card or they all paid in cash, right? So there is no debtor involved whatsoever. It's only our bank account and our sales and our output VAT that is going to be affected. So therefore, we are not going to record it in the sales journal, but in, like Senziwe says there, the cash receipt journal. Spot on. So let us go to our cash receipts journal. There we are. Let's say this was on the 22nd, just to give it a date. Cash receipts journal, and this now is for cash sales. So we're not going to record individual debtors because there are no debtors. We don't have to keep track of who bought what because they don't owe us the money. They've already paid us. So we only need to go and debit and credit those accounts. So now let's start with a bank account. We are going to deposit it into our bank account. How much are we going to deposit into our bank account? $3,876. 3876, right? Thank you, Senziwe. Yes, absolutely spot on. Thank you for providing the assistance with the amount. So 3876, that is the amount that we've taken out of our cash registers. That is the amount that we are taking to the bank together with our deposit slip book, and we are going to deposit it into our account. Or it could also just be simply the total of all the cards. It'll actually be a combination of the two. It'll be a combination of your cash takings and all the bank cards that were swiped during the course of making the sales during the day. Okay, so we've got that. Now let us go and calculate the sales and the VAT output and the well, it doesn't affect our accounts receivable. So we already know it's not a debtor that paid us. So our accounts receivable will not be affected. So the two accounts that will be affected besides our bank account will be the sales and the VAT output. Now, again, doesn't matter which one we calculate first. Let's maybe calculate the VAT on its own. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do we want? Let me just see. There's the equals. What do we want? We want a factor of 15. What do we have? It includes the value added tax. We have a factor of 115. It's suddenly gotten dark here. I can hardly see my keyboard now. Where's the multiply there? And the amount involved is 3876. Ladies and gents, I just want to go and switch on my light. It's suddenly gone very darky on my side. There we go. Suddenly gone very dark, so I can't see my keyboard properly. That helps. That helps a lot. Okay. Let me just confirm whether you also get 505 rands, ladies and thank you, Connie. 506. Okay, so you've already rounded it off. Thank you so much, Connie, for helping out. 506 rands. Yes, it's more than 50 cents. So the VAT output would be 506, which means that our sales, so that is the consideration that we've received. That is the value of the VAT output. Now we've got to see what is the value of our sales. So that will be 3876 minus 506. I heard the answer there. I will go and look at it just now. 3370. Thank you once again, Connie. I appreciate that. So that confirms it. That also confirms that Excel does actually calculate things correctly. I'm only joking. I'm only pulling your leg. Obviously, it does. Obviously, it does. Okay, so our sales, the amount that we banked into our bank account was 3876, which represents sales for us. That's our income of 3,370, and then the value-added tax that we have to pay over to the revenue service after deducting the input tax will be 506. Right, so that will be a creditor of ours. Remember, the VAT output is a liability. Okay, so far so good. Let us go to the next transaction. They say issued a debit note to Chico wholesalers for goods returned. Now, this is not a credit note. This is now a debit note. So we issued. They would have issued us. Uh, let us maybe just mention this. If a supplier issues us with a credit note, we usually do the opposite. We issue them with a debit note. So we issued a debit note to Chico wholesalers for goods returned to the value of 570 rands. Right. Sorry, I've got a cat here in my mouth. My cat just walked in front of me. Issued a debit note to Chico wholesalers. So our first decision that we've got to take, ladies and gentlemen, which of those various journals, we've got 6 of them, which of those 6 journals will be affected? Yes, right. That's a purchases returns journal. Thank you, Senziwe. Thank you, Connie. Exactly spot on. So this is now the purchases returns journal. So it is a supplier of us. We remember Chico Traders. Maybe we can just go there. Go to our purchases. Where's our purchases journal? There. Well, remember, we bought some stuff, some merchandise from Chico wholesalers. That was recorded in the purchases journal. So now we'll have to record this, as you say, in the purchases returns journal, which is also sometimes referred to as the accounts payable allowances journal, which is why you can see that we normally use this the shorter name. Okay, so let's say this happened on the 24th, just to give it a date. 24th of May, and it's Chico Wholesalers. Chico Wholesalers. Now remember, we are debiting creditors because let us just see in the purchases journal, we would have credited them because they are a creditor and we owe them more. But now in the purchases returns journal, we owe them less. So it means we are going to be debiting creditors. We are going to credit purchases because our purchases become less. We are going to credit VAT input because our VAT input is going to become less. Right. So Chico wholesalers, let me just go and look again. What was the amount? Issued a debit note for goods returned 570. Now let us go. I know we've gone through this whole reasoning about an hour ago, but let's go through it again, ladies and gentlemen. When we originally purchased from that specific wholesaler, Chico Wholesalers, when we made that purchase, did we claim input tax? Did we claim that input tax? Yes or no? Did we claim the VAT input? I'll show you the evidence just now. Did we claim VAT input? Yes or no? Did we claim the VAT input tax? Let's go and see. Let me just see that answer. Yes, we did. Thank you, Connie. Thanks, Isanda. Thank you, Mkhlontulu. Yes, we did. Right. And if we want to go and see the evidence, we can go to our purchases journal there. Chico wholesalers, we claimed the VAT input of 327. But now we can't claim it anymore because that transaction has now been cancelled. Not the whole transaction, but I mean for that portion of the goods that we've returned. So it means we also now have to decrease our input VAT. Now I don't actually need, let me rather calculate it on Excel. I think I might know the answer, but I might be wrong. So let's go and see. What do we want? We want a factor of 15. What do we have? A factor of 115. And the amount involved, 570. Oh, I would have been wrong. I would have been wrong. So it's a good thing I'm calculating it. If you can just confirm that you agree with that, ladies and gentlemen. So the VAT input that we have to go and cancel is 74 rand. Let me just see. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Sinziwe and Connie and Flontlu and everyone. Right. So our VAT input that we need to decrease the VAT input by is 74 rand, and the purchases that needs to decrease is 570 rands less 74 rands. There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've only got one transaction to go. The postings we'll do next week. We'll do the postings to all the various ledgers next week, and then we'll also draw up a trial balance. Right. So let us just go back to our question again. Last transaction. Now my collaborate control is in front of it again. Paid the water and electricity amount for the month 3,420. Paid the water and electricity account for the month of May 3420. So I think you already know what we are going to ask. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Senziwe. Now my control panel is in front again. Thank you, Senziwe and Sisanda and Connie. You're all correct. We made a payment, so it needs to be recorded in our cash payments journal. Spot on. So let's go to our cash payments journal. There we are. Cash payments journal. So now let's say this was on the 28th, just to give it a date. Well, let's assume you guys in Wellington, it is called, is it the Drakensberg municipality? If you can just confirm, I just want to make sure. I think so. What is your municipality called? Is it Drakensberg? Yes, thank you, Sisanda. That's how I remember it as well. So let's apply that. So let's say Drakensberg. Drakensberg, I hope I spelled it correctly. Drakensberg city, I think it's called, or municipality. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, it is Drakensberg, right? So that is the name that is going to appear on our EFT, on our electronic funds transfer requisition. That is the name that's going to appear there. We might also perhaps put there in brackets water and electricity, if you wish. But I'm pretty sure we will know that. Maybe let's do that. Let's do that. Let's be thorough. Because in real life we would have done that in any case. Make it a little bit broader. Drakensberg City, water and electricity. I had a ping there. Let me just go check. Can we please have a face? Senziwe, the problem is your lecturer is in hospital. The lecturer that we've designated for you for face to face is currently in hospital. He's been in hospital now for 3 weeks. We don't know when he's going to be discharged. I also had to consolidate the ECP classes on the District 6 campus. We had to change totally new times, totally new venues. So it is a bit of a headache at the moment, but we are just crossing our fingers that he will be discharged in the not too distant future. Okay, where were we? So the amount that was paid, water and electricity, 3420. 3420. Does that carry value added tax, ladies and gentlemen? 3420. Does it carry value added tax? I guess you guys are too young to be paying your own municipality and City of Cape Town accounts. Your parents still do. But the fact is, yes, it does include value added tax. Right. It does include value added tax, so we can claim the input tax. Does it affect our purchases, ladies and gentlemen? The water and electricity that we pay to Drakenstein City. Does it affect purchases? No, it doesn't affect purchases because we haven't bought any merchandise. Does it affect our VAT input? Yes, it does. It does affect our VAT input. So let's go and calculate what our VAT is. We are looking for a factor of 15. We have a factor of 115. And the amount involved is 3420. 446. Let me just go and see in the chat. 446. Thank you very much, Senziwe. You are spot on, 446. So there we have it. That is the value added tax. Maybe I should just move that a little bit further out. 446. So the value added tax is 446. So we've seen it doesn't affect purchases, but it does affect our VAT input. We can claim the VAT input tax back. Doesn't affect our accounts payable. So the only thing that it affects, or the only other thing besides VAT that it affects, will be one of our sundry accounts. And which account will that be? Water city expense. Or water and electricity expense. Right, so that is the name. Oops, sorry. That is the name of the account. Typed it in the wrong spot. Water and electricity expense. And the water and electricity expense, what will the expense be for us? It will be 3420 minus 446, 2974. Let me just see whether you are confirming that. 2974. Thank you very much, Connie. Much appreciated. Thank you, Senziwe. 2974. Right, so that agrees with what we've got there. 2974. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone over time a little bit, but that's okay. The main thing is we were able to do the totals. We captured all the totals for the first half of the month. And the main purpose of today, the real mission, was that we complete these transactions. So now we can see how we actually use the various subsidiary journals, or the so-called special journals, if you wish. I know Mr. Adams likes the word subsidiary journals rather. But anyway, now we can see how we make use of them to go and record those kinds of transactions, especially that are recurring. In our sales journal, we will see that, okay, we've only had 2, but we could have had thousands and thousands of sales, right? And we don't want to clutter up our general journal by having the same kind of entry recurring. So every time we debit debtors, we credit sales, we credit that output. We again next time, same thing. So we rather have a dedicated, specialized journal to be able to do all these transactions in. Okay, where was the last one that we finished off with? It was the cash payments one. So let us just save it there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. I am happy that you are here. I will, unfortunately, I can only keep you up to date with the developments as they happen. I can't predict into the future, but hopefully you will have a face-to-face person soon. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to appoint somebody else, and I haven't got anybody else that is available except for that specific lecture. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely afternoon. I will hang around for another minute or so if you've got any questions. But for all other purposes, I thank you again for attending, and I wish you a lovely rest of the afternoon and a lovely evening. Thank you. Bye bye.